Back with John here, and we're going to talk about this this drive controller, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So for you to be able to have all these electronics, you're going to have a power chair that has what we call expandable electronics.
Okay.
So on this Invacare, they call it an MPJ joystick. So usually you'll have this big type of screen on here. If you just have a little power button or power light, you probably don't have expandable electronics, which means you're not going to be able to add all these things, including an ASL box, into the system. The chair has to be capable of having this stuff added to it, so we call it expandable electronics.
Okay.
And you'll be able to have multiple drives. So typically on an Invacare, you've got 4 drives. So we're in drive 1, and I have this set up for me using the joystick slowly, as you see there.
Yeah, I can see it.
Going in and out of focus.
You're all right.
Drive 2, I have set up for the head array. So there, I'm driving with the head array now.
Okay.
Drive 3, I have set up for the joystick faster for me to move it around.
Okay.
You don't need to know that. And then drive 4, I now have it set up so that the chair does not drive, but instead turns on that auxiliary box we were talking about.
Gotcha. Okay.
And now that auxiliary box will send a signal out to that computer, that communication device, or that toy that you want the child to activate. Okay. So you see the little 4 arrows there?
Right.
I'll hit the switch, and you're lighting up the arrow.
Got it. Okay. And so that's the mode that you'd be in if you're connected to a communication device.
Correct.
And so right now you're switching that mode. What if the child got to the point, or the individual got to the point where they could switch that? They wanted to be able to do that themselves.
They could have a 4th switch up there on a tray or something set up, or another 4th switch where, if they had the ability to do it with their head, where they could switch the drives themselves.
And so where would that? So getting a little bit into the weeds here, though. If they had that 4th switch, where would that 4th switch plug in to be able to accomplish that changing of modes?
Well, say a cell box. On the back of it, you've got 2 ports. One is a reverse, and one is for drive select.
Okay.
And that's exactly what you would do. You'd have reverse set up on one side, and that drive select would be on the other. Okay,
so that 4th switch would plug in right into that spot there.
That's right.
And then if they hit that switch, they would then be changing modes up here on the 1, 2, 3, and 4.
And there's also 2 ports for this specific model. There's 2 ports here. You can also take this switch, plug it in here.
I'm going to try and get up underneath you there.
And you'll be able to do it that way.
Oh, so you can do it. So that particular function we can do without the ASL box.
Right. You can also turn the chair on and off through here. And it's not turning on and off now because it's not programmed to. But you have that ability to do that.
Gotcha. All right. So hold on. I want to make sure I didn't confuse that. We need the ASL box in order to be able to drive the chair with the head array.
You need an ASL box to drive with that. With a head array. And also many alternative access methods.
Right.
So if you're just going to drive with switches, you also still need a way to do that.
Okay.
You'll need a box something like this.
So the likelihood of us actually taking that 4th switch that we're going to use to change modes and plugging it directly into the controller here, it doesn't seem like that would happen that often.
It all depends, because sometimes you may take up those 2 jacks here in a different way. You might have reverse and the reset, which we talked about before.
Right.
So you might actually have the drive select be here.
Okay.
Then they would have to have 4 switches. So we try not to complicate it. You try to keep it all as simple as possible. But yeah, you can come to that point.
Okay, that makes sense. Anything else you want to go over on that? I think that's it.
And then chairs have their, what engages the motors and disengages them. Some can be easily pushed. Some are harder to push. We try to be careful here and not push power chairs around, because power chairs are pretty heavy.
Yeah.
But if you do have to push a power chair, make sure that the power is always turned off, because that makes it easier to push, even when the chair is disengaged. But we like to have an attendant control on the back so that staff can easily use the chair.
All right, John, 30 seconds or less. What's that in your left hand?
This is the programmer. So all the changes that I make to this, for example, telling it that drive 1 is for the joystick and telling it that drive 2 is for the head array has to be done with a programmer.
Okay.
I plug this in, and I can change the specific parameters of speed, what drive does what, and so forth.
And now you have one of those because you do this all the time, but typically that's something that the vendor has, right?
The vendor or your sales rep for that company.
Gotcha.
So the Invacare sales rep is the person who got us this.
Awesome. Thanks, John.